Hey guys, welcome to the Touchdown Table. I'm Ryan, that's Tyler, that's Jordan, and this is our second offseason outlook of this year. It is about another AFC East team, actually. Our first one was of the Jets. This one is of the New England Patriots, an uncharacteristic year for them, 7-9, missing out on the playoffs by a pretty wide margin. So we'll talk about what they could try to do to maybe fix up their issues and get back to contention next year and beyond.
Yeah, Ryan, you talked about it. A very uncharacteristic year for the Patriots, and many people look at this year and they're like, oh my gosh, they stink. Belichick is awful. This team was just Brady virtually. But if you look at what happened to this team, they lost a quarterback that was there for a long time, had a great winning culture. If you lose a guy like Tom Brady and don't gain anyone, in fact, you lose people. I'll talk about that in a second. I mean, it's just common sense. Your team is not going to do good. They had a bunch of opt-outs at the beginning of the season. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 opt-outs.
Yeah.
A few of those big names too.
Yeah.
Patrick Chung, safety. Dante Hightower.
Brandon Bolden. Marcus Cannon was a really good lineman for them.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of opt-outs for this team. So it makes sense why they had this slump. They lost Brady. They lost a bunch of other players to COVID. And it was a different year for the New England Patriots. I think the future is looking bright. I would just like to say firmly right now, as I'm sure these two also agree with me, it's not Belichick's fault. I think he is still a fantastic coach. I think this team has a shot to get much better this year, getting players back, hopefully having a good draft. So with that said, we'll cover all that stuff in the video, what the Patriots have to do to get their dynasty back again.
And starting from the top, Jordan, you kind of brought it up. Something that just angers me is we're about to see Tom Brady go to the Super Bowl. That's not the part that angers me. I'm happy that he's there. I like Tom Brady. But then you talk about the Patriots, and people are just bashing on Bill Belichick, saying, oh, he was no good. It was all Tom Brady now because he's doing it with another team. I just don't think that's true. I mean, look, Jordan mentioned the players that they lost. Their receivers.
They also had a decent amount of injuries, too.
Yeah. They had injuries. Their receivers were no good. That's part of the drafting that I believe Belichick does anyways. So you can hit on him in that GM aspect of it. But as a coach, I mean, he just didn't have much this year. Cam Newton was just thrown at the legs of players all season. He started off good, but then just went on decline. So it was tough for him, and losing half the defense, and Dante Hightower and Patrick Chung being two of the best players on that defense, or among two of the best players. Yeah. It's just a rough way to start the season. And it would have taken a miracle for this team to have gone into the playoffs and go on a run. It just didn't happen. But I think, like you said, Jordan, things are going to be fine. They can get some players in the offseason and get players back. And I don't know if we'll see completely back to the Patriot way, but we'll see a lot closer next year, and we'll explain why throughout this video.
Yeah, and you talked about the Patriot way. For a long time, the Patriot way was Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, who's gone. Move on to Cam Newton this year, as Tyler mentioned. Started off all right. Even I think in one video, Tyler mentioned him as possibly being an MVP.
Yeah, probably after like week 2. Let's not embarrass him too much.
But still have to throw that out there at him. Because Newton was playing
He was playing, and if we're talking week 2, it was like Russell Wilson and Cam Newton.
In week 2, he almost cost me my fantasy win, but I held on. It's okay.
Yeah, so he started off good, and then I'm not quite sure what happened with him. I just think teams figured him out. As Ryan always says, they're able to figure out these running quarterbacks sooner or later. After a few games, they figured out Cam Newton pretty easily. And in my opinion, Cam's not going to be there next year. I don't think he's a guy for the future. So I'll ask you guys, and I'll chime in as well. What is the plan for the quarterback position for the future? Because I think that is the number one thing I'm watching for the Patriots this year.
Well, I think that it's not Cam Newton. I think that they will move on from him. They didn't get quite the, version of Cam that they were expecting. And I know there weren't good weapons, but I still think the Patriots have to feel that there are better options out there. And even if, Cam did have a bounce back here, he's still older. He still had some injury history. So I think the Patriots will look in a different direction. I mean, with Matthew Stafford already being traded, he's off the table. So
Can I chime in real quick?
What?
You just mentioned Matthew Stafford.
Oh, yeah.
So he gave a list of teams, or he said that he'd go to any team except for the Patriots. So I thought that was interesting. He told the Lions that you can trade me wherever you want, just except for the Patriots. So that was an interesting thing that I saw. I just want to throw it in there because I feel like that is kind of important to throw in there as well.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a really good point. I mean, why? We don't know. It just seems...
You can speculate, but...
Yeah, you can speculate.
Patricia's going back there.
Yeah,
that could definitely be why.
Yeah, he is.
He might not like Patricia, and he doesn't want to have to, face that awkwardness of having the head coach they didn't like, and then just going right back there and having to see him again every day. Granted, they'd be playing on different sides of the ball, but they're still on the same team.
Yeah, so back to the initial question about, what will the Patriots do? Looking at the list of free agent quarterbacks this year, I would think that it probably wouldn't come from this bunch because you look at this list. Dak Prescott, he's going back to Dallas almost certainly. I could say Jacoby Brissett they had earlier, they traded him. Mitchell Trubisky, we still don't know what'll happen with him.
I could see him having success there, though.
In New England,
I love for him to stay with us as a Bears fan. I like Trubisky. I hope the best for his future. But I do feel like Belichick and that team could change Trubisky into a good quarterback.
Yeah,
That's how I feel.
I mean, will they sign like one of these veteran guys to try and be a bridge for a younger QB that they draft this year or next year, or are they trying to get that guy right now? Because just guys like, Nathan Peterman, that could be the next dynasty. No, I'm kidding. But for there's guys like Tyrod Taylor, Mitchell Trubisky, Andy Dalton, guys who have some experience that could maybe be a bridge or a solid mentor for a backup. But I doubt that the Patriots' next franchise quarterback comes from this free agent class. If they do sign a QB in this free agent class, it'll probably just be like a 1-year thing to be a bridge for a future draft pick or big signing made about a year from now. That'd be my guess. So I would bet that what the New England Patriots will do is look to the draft for a quarterback. I think this is the year they'll actually do it. They're always speculated to do it. Last year they didn't do it. The year before that they didn't do it until I think the 4th round with Jarrett Stidham, who still, I mean, we haven't seen much of him. I still think they got to give him a fair shot at some point. So I do expect that this is the year. At some point, I say 1st or 2nd round would be my guess that New England goes quarterback in the draft.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. I want to jump back just a bit because you mentioned Jarrett Stidham, right? And he's a guy that stepped in there a few times this year, and it's hard to determine how good he did. There were some times where it looked like he was struggling, other times where it looked like he was not doing too good. I think it was Louis Riddick who said, I think it was a Week 16 game or something where he was announcing, and he said that Week 17 and even that week, he just wanted to see Jarrett Stidham in because for this Patriots team, I think it would have been best for them to evaluate what they have in Stidham those last 2 games, see if they want to use him for next year, let him be the guy, or they're just going to move on completely and go to somebody else at the quarterback position. So the fact that they didn't test him out, not sure exactly what that says. I do feel like there's still some glimpse of hope in Stidham with this team, but I'm a Patriots fan. I'm Bill Belichick and McDaniels. I'm not throwing my franchise on Stidham right now. Ryan, I agree with you. I think this is finally the year they go to the draft for a quarterback. I think that'd be a fantastic thing to see. I think it'd be a great storyline. And, maybe they'll just go to pick, what was it? Brady went 199. Yeah, so maybe do they have that pick this year? I don't know. Somebody look that up. I'll look it up in a second, but
I highly doubt it.
Yeah, I highly doubt it.
Well, plus, have the compensatory picks come out yet? I don't
know.
So.
I don't know. I'll look it up. But yeah, draft quarterback.
Yeah, we're all in agreement on that. I'm going to talk about it in the new segment that we're introducing to this series.
Tyler's tips.
Tyler's tips, and we'll get to that in just a bit. I've already started brainstorming ideas for it, but I do have them getting quarterback in the draft. That just makes sense because Ryan said the quarterbacks that were in free agency, a lot of them might go back. We know Dak Prescott's most likely going back, and they want guys that are probably going to give them the chance as soon as possible. And maybe a rookie in the 1st round is where they would look to that. And I don't know if they will do that, but that's the way I see it going. And you look at their defense from last year, there's still holes that could be filled there, but a lot of those, as we mentioned before, will be filled by players coming back as long as, COVID's still not going on, which I sure hope by next season that's not the case. It's not looking to trend that way, and then offensively, I'll talk about it later on. They got to get wide receivers, and they haven't been drafting well with the wide receivers, especially early on in the draft. Go get one in free agency. I'll get more into that in just a bit as well.
There's some good ones out there.
Yeah, there are. So I have one in mind that I think specifically could be good for them, but I'll let you guys keep talking a bit more before I introduce the official segment of it.
All right. First of all, Jordan, did you find their draft picks yet?
I've looked at 199. It's the Bengals. So they've already got Joe.
Yeah, they will be good. But, I mean, yeah, before you get back, I'm in total agreement. At the skill position, specifically wide receiver and tight end is where I think New England really has to step it up and get some playmakers in free agency for whoever the quarterback is in 2021.
Yes. All right, well, I guess that means we'll just get into this segment baby. Right now. Yeah,
my favorite segment.
Yes, yeah. Good. I'm glad it is because it's really the only segment we've ever had on this touchdown table before.
Every time I talk.
But let's start where I was talking about before with the draft. I think a main player or position they should be targeting in the draft is going to be that quarterback position, and it should be because they're probably going to need one with the absence of Cam Newton, and not sure what Jared Stidham is going to be able to do. Now, this is just what I have kind of mocked right now, but I put Mac Jones with the Patriots. That makes sense to me. Just great decision maker.
Yeah. Good vision.
Yeah, good vision as well. There are some weaknesses there that you look at and go, but it's kind of similar with Tom Brady coming out of the draft. I mean, Brady was a much lower prospect than Mac Jones was, but I think he's very good and would fit well with that team. Just kind of reminds me of a player that the Patriots would want to go out and get in the draft. So that's just the first round one that I think of. And then we were talking about wide receiver and tight end, and I was thinking about free agency, and Will Fuller from the Texans could be a good one because we know the Texans and the Patriots have been a lot of, I don't know, like trade talks.
Yeah, they've crossed paths quite a bit.
And every player from the Patriots goes to the Texans or the Lions, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he came from the Patriots. Yeah.
So that could be something as well. I think Will Fuller, after coming off the suspension, could have a good couple years there, and he's already proven, which is someone they need. And then I think Jared Cook's gonna be a free agent too, so maybe they could get him later on in his career for a little bit and just have a guy that could make plays in that red zone. And then defensively, I said there's not much to do. Draft some players towards the end of the draft, but getting Chung and Hightower back should be all right. I think Gilmore is going to stay there. And then I think they're set. Yeah, J.C. really Jackson was one of the better defensive players in the league this year. And yes, I said that because it's true. So I think they're good defensively. Maybe get that line a bit more. But those are the main couple things I was thinking of. If I'm the Patriots, that's who I'm targeting. Specifically, it doesn't have to be those guys, but those positions, and that's Tyler's tips.
Yeah, I think those were a lot of good points you had there. I think the fit of Mac Jones in New England could potentially be something that's good for both sides. You get quite the package with Mac Jones, so I think that could be something that really benefits the Patriots organization. If they choose to go that route, they're in a position where they maybe wouldn't have to necessarily trade up for him. If anything, they could maybe trade back and still get him. I've seen him mocked all over the place, but that's more for a different video. So I do like the idea of Mac Jones, or really just any first-round quarterback or a second-round quarterback for New England. Receivers, there's a place where they have to improve a lot. I think Will Fuller.
They've been targeting it though, and they haven't been hitting it.
Yeah, but they've been targeting it a lot in the draft. So I think they go try and get a proven guy like maybe a Will Fuller who's flashed a ton of potential when he's healthy and not on drugs.
Yeah, you know that.
Yeah,
you're the Texas.
And then also, there's a lot of other good veteran guys out there.
You're gonna sound like he was on weed. It was PEDs.
Well, yeah.
Apparently he didn't know that it's illegal for.
Yeah, we don't know that situation, and then I think that there's also a lot of other receivers that are free agency. I know there's Allen Robinson, there's AJ Green, T.Y. Hilton, Sammy Watkins, Marvin Jones is going to be a free agent. So,
but how attractive is New England? That's the question.
Yeah, that's the debate. That's the debate. But there are a ton of good options. So even if you say like the Patriots say, okay, we want Allen Robinson, and you go somewhere else, you could still maybe get an AJ Green or a Sammy Watkins or a Marvin Jones, and I don't think that'd be a bad consolation prize, especially when you've struggled to develop at that position wide receiver for so long. Really ever since the dynasty ended. I think that free agency, they should definitely look at give a long hard look at the wide receiver free agent pool this year, because it is one of the better ones I can remember seeing.
Yeah, I just don't think they hit those skill positions in the draft. Right, they're trying at wide receiver. They've tried at tight end. Yeah. How many of the tight ends they picked last year? 3.
I don't know. They were like out of order too.
Yeah, they tried picking tight ends, and I think we all were like, I don't think that's going to work out.
Asiasi's a rookie, I know.
Yeah, he was better than anyone else. There wasn't really a guy that I was like, wow, that was a good find.
Yeah. So I feel like in the draft they try to hit those more skill positions. They've just been missing on them. So go out in free agency and try to get those guys. I think main thing for the draft, focus on a quarterback, and I think your defense is all right. I think with those guys returning, they're going to be a solid unit. There are still some things to be added. I think one thing that the Patriots really need to focus on, because it's been a weakness for a long time, and that's an edge rusher. They haven't had a decent edge rusher in a long time. They have a great secondary, great linebackers, but really their defensive line, not their greatest strength on defense. So I think in the draft or free agency, try to target a defensive end or a tackle if you can. Get those guys, because that's been a weakness on that team for a while, in my opinion. Defensive ends right now are Lawrence Guy and Dietrich Wise Jr.
Someone we haven't talked about as well is Julian Edelman.
He was out this year.
Coming off the injury, yes. So
I like Julian.
He should be back, and that was the reason why we couldn't see anything going receiver-wise, was because he was really the main target there for years, and he didn't get to play. And
Don't forget about Bird.
Oh, yeah. Damiere Byrd was all right. I think N'Keal Harry, he was a guy that I loved come out in the draft. But it hasn't happened yet. You see the potential there. I think they have guys that can do something. They're just going to need some time.
And a better quarterback.
And a better quarterback maybe as well. So no, I don't think Cam Newton was completely terrible until we saw it kind of.
He's not the right quarterback for the Patriots.
No, I think so too. And at first you saw McDaniels and him, and everything was great in those first couple games, and then it was just like, oh, okay, it's this offense. This defense started to figure it out, and that flustered Newton. So I don't think he'll be an absolute terrible quarterback when he goes to another team. I would assume he would. I just want to throw that out there as well. But my main point was just talking about Edelman. That's a huge comeback for this team. He's been one of the better players there for his entire career.
Well, MVP.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one more thing I wanted to bring up. A lot of people might think they should go out and try to get a running back, but I really think they're solid at that running back position. Sony Michel, he's had his struggles. James White, he's more of a receiving back. And then Damian Harris, he's on IR right now. He was injured towards the end of the season. But at the butt end of the season, he was doing some really good stuff. I tried to pick him up in fantasy. Somebody else already had him. I was very frustrated. It seems like he was scoring every week. He was doing a lot of good things for that Patriots offense. I think last year was his second year in the NFL. I really liked what he did. He's more of a pounding runner. He's also got some speed as well. Broke off a lot of big runs. So I think he's a future running back for the Patriots. So you're good at that position, in my opinion. I like Damian Harris, as well as that other crew. James White has been one who's been there for a while doing some stuff in New England. But I like the running back position, and specifically Damian Harris.
Yeah, I think that they've done a great job with their running back group in recent years. Like even Michelle, who had a down year, he had a really strong year the year before this past season. I'm a fan of him. I still think he can contribute. James White, he's actually a pending free agent, so we'll see what they do with them. With him. And I mean, honestly, I could see them bringing back, but they have so much depth at the running back position already with Sonny Michel, with Damian Harris finishing the season strong. Maybe they decide to let him go. I would understand reasoning for both trying to keep him.
To get him back, right?
Yeah, it's not necessary. I would understand the reasoning for keeping him or choosing to spend that money elsewhere. I really think it can go either way. But running backs, they're set. We've talked about how they need to improve on the skill positions, wide receiver and tight end, basically. The offensive line is pretty good, but also Joe Thuney, a big name, he's going to be a free agent this year, so that'll be something to watch. Will they get him back? You know, what's going to be the deal with that? Obviously, really good left guard for them. He's been good for a while, so we'll see what happens there. And defensively, I think they're pretty solid. I mean, once they get all those opt-outs back, I think they'll actually be a pretty solid unit overall. The D-line could get better, but the linebackers and the secondary, especially the secondary, as Jordan mentioned, they're set up to do pretty good. So I'm not too worried about that. Just the skill positions and a little bit of the D-line is my concern and where I think they should try to improve.
You talked about the offense and the defense. Their special teams was not bad either. They had some kicking problems. But Gunnar Osh, I don't know how to say it, but I think it's like Oshetsky. But I mean, every time I would watch, Patriots game or the highlights, he was someone that would shine, even if it was just a 10-yard return. You could tell. Yeah, his name is Gunnar. He's perfect for a special teams.
I thought you were talking about like Gunnar.
No.
Oh,
no. His name is Gunnar.
Yeah, that was confused.
But Patriots fans, you know who he is. He was pretty good this year, and I think he was All-Pro first team as the punt returner. So, for 2020. So, according to this website, which is Wikipedia, so I don't know if that's true or not, but that's where we're gonna end this video off, unless anyone's got anything else to say. Doesn't look like it. So, Patriots, not the best year for them, especially after seeing 20 years of greatness for them. Tom Brady left. But here at the table, we still think the Patriots will be fine heading into their future and into next season. Let us know what you guys think about this team heading into next year. What should they do in the offseason, in the draft, in free agency? Let us know down below in the comments section. Also, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell. Like I said, comment down below. Go check out our Instagram and our podcast.
He was.
Yes, I am.
Oh, this is Wikipedia again. Hold on. Let me go to NFL.
Well, as we wait for Jordan to do that, we've talked about this roster already, and I'm sure we'll break down the roster more during this offseason as we try and get more videos going here. But there's a lot to like with the Patriots.
There it is.
And especially based on what we've seen, we know it's possible for them to do it, and I think Jordan may have found it.
Yeah, I can confirm. He was the punt returner, All-Pro, kick returner Cordero Patterson of my Chicago Bears.
Oh, and they had
who's also a free agent.
The punter too, Jake Bailey.
They did, yes. Jake Bailey is good.
All right, perfect. I can stop stalling and we can wrap this video up. So thank you guys for watching, and with that, we will see you guys later.
See ya.